T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. All three engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
Coach on Fire Radio.
I am the tiger, dancing through the fire. 'Cause I am a champion, and you're gonna hear me roar.
You're listening to the Flourish and Thrive radio show, episode 20. Hey there, it's Kate Hartley here, and welcome to another episode of the Flourish and Thrive radio show. Thank you so very, very much for tuning in today. This is the show where I interview guests whose stories will inspire you to take the steps you need to create the life you want and educate you with tips and strategies to help you overcome your roadblocks. My guests all have one thing in common, and that is the passion to consistently take action, to follow their dreams and achieve their goals in life. On this show, you also hear what's working and not working in people's lives, the challenges they face, and more importantly, how they overcome those challenges, using their resourcefulness to get to where they want to be. Before I get into the details of my intuitive guest today, remember that you'll be able to listen to the replay of this interview via my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/flourishtherapy.co.uk, and on the Coach on Fire Facebook page, which is facebook.com/coachonfireradio. And I know my guest who I'm interviewing is also going to be putting it on her website, and I will reveal details of that in a little while. So I can't wait to introduce you to my guest today. Her name is Mercedez Calleros, and Mercedez is a medicine woman, a midlife mindset coach, and self-care expert. She's a licensed massage therapist and empowers women to find their courage and stretch their wings to find their power. She loves the outdoors and nature, which inspires her to live every moment in the best way possible. And I'm so looking forward to introducing Mercedez to the show today. So, Mercedez, how are you today?
Hi, Kate. I'm actually doing very well today. I'm very excited to be here. Hi, everybody out there listening. Thank you so much for showing up today.
Oh, so cool. I'm so glad to have you on the show. And I know we tried to, just as a bit of a backstory, we tried to do this interview a few weeks ago, and I was just having all sorts of tech issues. So I've been really looking forward to introducing Mercedez, particularly because of the medicine woman section in her job title, because for me, that is just like, oh, it just makes me so interested. So, Mercedez, give us a little bit of an idea about what got you to where you are now, and what's your big why, if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, well, I'll start with my big why. My big why is I just love living. I know that that is my purpose here. I know that a lot of people look for like this deep, meaningful purpose of being here, and some of us have that. But you know what? I just really honestly believe I am here to appreciate and enjoy being here. So that's a big part of it. Now, my journey started back in my early 20s. I come from a dysfunctional family. I'm sure a lot of us do. We all have our experiences with family and such. And I had, low self-esteem, self-worth issues, no confidence, and not really. I had a nagging ambition to do and be something, but nothing that really made me like want to go and get it. And then it was just, one thing after another where this and then just kept happening, and I just wasn't happy. And a friend turned around to me one day and she said, you're just walking around with this dark cloud over your head. Don't you get it? You set your own stage. You can make your own life. And then she handed me a Louise L. Hay affirmation tape.
Yeah.
And then from that moment on, I can connect dots. I look back on my life. I see every single decision that was opportunities that were handed to me that I took and that I jumped at and that I moved. And that's what it's been. It's just once you open yourself up to the goodness, it just comes.
And so was Louise Hay in sort of the catalyst for you to change your outlook on life?
Most certainly. If this woman, yeah, reading her book and knowing that she, at a time when a lot of us weren't talking about the law of attraction or positive affirmations, she took this and healed herself of cancer, and then started this huge movement. So, and her purpose wasn't to change anybody else's life. Her purpose was to live.
Yes, yeah, and she's had such an impact on so many lives around the world. Unfortunately, she died, was just a few months ago, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Rest in peace, Louise.
Absolutely. She's had,
Yes.
well, I think her legacy will go on for years and years and years, because really, I mean, I would imagine everybody in the self-care community, myself included, I've got one of her discs, I've got one of her books, and I've also got a pack of her cards. And even when I'm not looking for learning, as it were, I just actually like looking through them, because they have the way the images that she creates are just so uplifting, and the messages are there, and it's just something that I feel is it's like eating a special, my favorite treat is a bit like the same feeling I get when I look through Louise Hay's cards, like affirmation cards, for instance.
Yes, they're uplifting, and they remind you that, or for me anyway, they remind me that, life can be simple, and at moments can be easy. It's us that really just put so much on top of it that makes it hard.
I agree with you 100%. And also what I find with her cards in particular, the affirmations, as it were, it makes you realize that life is down to us. It's down to the choices that we make and the actions that we take. And we can't things will happen to us in our lives that we can't control. And that's what life is all about. And sometimes those things are good, and sometimes those things are just darned awful. But it all boils down to then how we translate what's happened to us and how we let that affect us in our lives.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, and that's the message I get from her books and her cards, is that it really is down to us, and we can make the best possible attempt at this life. Or we can sit and be a victim.
Right. Well, the thing, I like to say it like this to some people too, because it's, easier to hear is that, how are you responding to life? How do you, are you regurgitating from old stuff, or are you actually responding from where you're standing now? And if you can come from a place where you're standing, then you're in a place where you're actually learning and you're growing and you're moving forward. If you're regurgitating, coming off from reactions from old stuff, then you're kind of stuck. Because you're not allowing yourself to grow. And by your actions, you're also keeping other people stuck.
Yes.
So, everything, we're all connected, even though we're all individual, we're all unique, and we're all separate. We are very energetically connected. And when you step into somebody else's space, if you can come into that space from a place of being present and listening in the moment and responding to what is happening there, rather than being in your head looking for the next answer or the up to what they're saying, or getting triggered by what they're saying or doing, and then responding or reacting from that, such a better space to do it the other way, where you're actually responding from being present than reacting from past.
Oh, really? That's a really good point. And it's one that I think, well, it's something that we all live every day, but it's just drawing your awareness to that makes you more able to then not just to regurgitate and to take a fresh approach. Yes.
And I find, that I'll just say it because most people in our profession and whatnot, or the circle, will say is, meditation. Meditation is one of those free, available to everybody tools that if you take the time to even 5 minutes, 15 minutes is good and ideal for most people, but even 5 minutes just to settle yourself and to feel grounded in your body and to, I guess, to just really just feel, to be present with yourself is huge. There's too many of us are too busy to do that. And what we find, because I can get stuck in that mode for a little bit too.
Yeah.
I have two businesses and I have a very busy home life and I have, friends and I have family and, I roller derby and I work out and it's just, I have a lot on my plate, and I love doing classes. But I find that when I get too busy and I fall off my meditation cycle, that I just get anxious. I start to worry more. Things don't things don't fall into place, and I have a harder time communicating with people. And it's mostly just because I'm frazzled. I don't have my foundation set for the day.
I think it's so important, and I unfortunately still some people regard it as woo woo, and they don't think they need to meditate. But I agree with you. I just think it is so beneficial to us, and to create that space within our heads of, and that's actually quite hard to achieve when you first start. I'm one of those people that has just thoughts that pile in and they flit through, and all of a sudden, even though I've committed to meditating, like 20 minutes later, I'm busy working on the next project for my business, and it's just like, this is not right. I'm supposed to be meditating. But
right.
The times when I do it and I succeed in doing it just makes me feel so much more relaxed, and my clarity and focus is so improved when I meditate.
Right. And you just kind of feel like you're even breathing better.
Yes.
So I'll just say this to the, because I tell my clients this all the time. It's, we have gotten, first of all, yes, there's those people who still think that meditating is like out there. It's a guru thing. It's like sit on top of a mountain with your red robe on and shave your head meditation type thing. What I tell them is like, and some people have a hard time sitting and not thinking. Well, when you're first starting, you're not going to be the expert. That's why they call it a practice, just like everything else. It's a practice. Practice takes time. You got to actually put the time into it. So if you sit, I always tell people to start, use your, a timer or your phone, set it for 5 minutes. Someone said, well, can I do 2 minutes? Like, 2 minutes is a little too short, do 5 minutes. And it's not about reprimanding yourself when you find yourself having, taken off on a thought train. It's more about patting yourself on the back and, celebrating those moments where you found you've gone off on a train and you know what? You brought yourself back.
Yes.
Yeah. And, I've also found it really hard to do, to jump into one of those other, like either you find a mantra or you find, focus on your breath or whatever. People tend to have a hard time with that as well. I go with what Esther Hicks says or Abraham Hicks says, look or listen for, get into a quiet enough space. And if it's not quiet enough, listen for a sound that's steady in the background.
Yeah.
The humming of a fan or the air conditioner or someone just rustling paper. Just listen to that and breathe. And it's very, I find doing that gets me into the actual space faster than listening to my own breathing.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it, how different things work for different people. Outdoors, I would listen to the leaves in the trees because, like you,
Exactly.
I just love nature. But when I normally actually meditate because I tend to wake up in the early hours and I find it difficult to go back to sleep because my brain's pinging with all sorts of ideas for the business. But I listen. I focus on my breath. I breathe in slowly and breathe out slowly, and that is because I'm focusing on something that I'm doing. I always drift off. It doesn't take me long at all, and that works for me. But other people, it works for different things. It's really interesting. I think meditation is one of those things we don't do when we need it most. And it's another of those things where it's, different people have different ways that work best for them. But It's certainly something that is universally beneficial.
Right. And you know what? I tell people to explore. I honestly, I'm a Gemini, first of all, and I'm not necessarily